Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Pointless Top 10, a show where we make top 10 lists of the pointless things, where we flying by pointless statue in Booty Bay, because inside pointless things are treasure. Let's begin. 10. Number 10 is the Gluttonous Hydra, and the Gluttonous Hydra is located at the Gloaming Reef in Val'sharah, and this Hydra is feasting on the corpses of 3 dead Night Elves. And I didn't even know this was in the game. I was just flying around and came across this Hydra, and I was like, why is this here? Is this just random? But as it turns out, it is part of a quest. It is part of a leatherworking quest given by Mevris Ghost Dancer, and it's called Mevris's Menace. And it says, there is a Hydra that has been something of a nuisance for us as of late. It lives out on the Gloaming Reef, almost directly due west of here. It's been attacking ships that pass by, making it difficult to get supplies to and from Bradensbrook. I sent a team to handle it, but they haven't returned. Go out there, kill it, and take its scales to Danis. And when you see her, tell her that I said nothing. But yeah, this is probably the team that was sent to handle the Hydra, and I don't think they handled it very well, and now the Hydra is eating all of them. So, main thing here is I did not expect to find a random Hydra out in the wild eating Night Elves, and that's what I found. And apparently it's been breaking ships too, so this guy's actually doing a lot of damage, probably more than some raid bosses, so that's why the Gluttonous Hydra is number 10. 9. Number 9 is Gleeok the Untamable, and Gleeok is a large sleeping Hydra located at the Darkmoon Fair Zoo on the Darkmoon Island. And I'm pretty sure not many people expected a random sleeping Hydra at the Darkmoon Fair to be on this list, but here we are. And Gleeok was actually a Hydra boss in The Legend of Zelda, and so this is probably a reference to The Legend of Zelda, and the title Untamable is likely a reference to the fact that up until patch 6.0.2, Hydras were not tameable by hunters. And funnily enough, in the comments of a Wowhead post, someone was like, dude, in Warlords of Draenor, Hydras will become tameable, so this guy might have his name changed, and that did not happen. However, Gleeok themselves are technically untamable, so their name is actually true. But yeah, I really like Gleeok. I think it's funny that all 3 of the heads are sleeping. They each got the little Z's, and you can actually see one of them has like a bubble, like a snot bubble that keeps getting bigger and smaller. That's pretty funny. And so yeah, that's why Gleeok is number 9. 8. Number 8 are the Mire Hydras, and the Mire Hydras are found along the shores of the Lagoon and Umbrafen Lake in Zanger Marsh. And even though these aren't the craziest Hydras, I think these are the Hydras that I always think of when I think of Hydras for some reason. I don't know why. Maybe it's because I just ran into them a lot when I played Burning Crusade, or I just thought they were cool in Zanger Marsh, because I do like Zanger Marsh, but I figured this would be a good time to just talk about Hydras in general. So it says here that Hydras were actually multi-headed water serpents in Greek and Roman mythology, born to the monsters Typhon and Echidna. I don't even know if that's how you say that, but Typhon is a storm giant, and Echidna is a half-woman, half-serpent mother of all monsters. It lived in the swamps of Lerna, which were believed to be the gateway to the underworld, and it grew 2 new heads for every one cut off, which I think is the thing that most people know Hydras for. So there we go, a little mythological history on Hydras, and we get to look at the Mire Hydras that I think are really cool, so that's why the Mire Hydras are number 8. 7. Number 7 is Markaru, and Markaru is a Hydra found in Ecodome Sutheron in Netherstorm. And I never expected to find a Hydra in Netherstorm of all places, but they are part of the quest When Nature Goes Too Far. And it's from Aurene Moonblaze, who says, the dome technology possesses such power. Certainly, there are bounds beyond which we dare not go. Creatures allowed to grow too large or too fast could be just as bad as a barren landscape. I've heard rumors of just such a creature in the pool to the east. I've heard the ethereal merchants conspiring to catch the overgrown Hydra for sport, but I have another purpose in mind for the giant. Bring me the creature's heart so I may study it. And Markaru appears to use the same model as the Mire Hydras, which we just talked about, but it is a singular Hydra that is much larger and purple. But I really just think it's cool that there's this big Hydra in Netherstorm, even if it is in one of the Ecodomes, but I always thought the Ecodomes were pretty cool as well, so that's why Markaru is number 7. 6. Number 6 are Giaska the Spore Gorger and Echidna, both located at the southernmost point of the Spires of Iraq. And so Echidna is actually one of 4 level 100 rare elite Hydras on Draenor that serve absolutely no purpose other than being rare hydras that exist out in the world. Although they all are references to Greek mythology. As we learned, Typhon and Echidna were the ones that got together and created the Lernaean Hydra. And then I guess Karavnos is just Greek for thunderbolt. And then we have Giasca, the Spore Gorger, and I put them on the list because they're a hydra that has mushrooms growing all over them. And so judging by their name, I imagine they were just gorging on some spores and then they got some sort of fungal infection, or maybe the spores just took over them. So, you know, Giasca was gorging on some spores, but then the spores started gorging on Giasca. And when killed, they will drop an item called the fungus-infected Hydra Lung, which is just a trinket. But either way, I just thought these hydras were pretty cool, and so that's why they're number 6. 5. Number 5 is Chimeron, and Chimeron is a boss in the Blackwing Descent raid. And it says here that Chimeron was altered and remade by Nefarian, a gruesome nightmare twisted from its original form. And the adventure guide says, terrifying, ugly, evil, kill it. But I mean, I don't know, it doesn't seem more terrifying or ugly or evil than a lot of the other things I've seen in the game. I mean, it seems, you know, he seems alright, he's just sleeping. But nearby, Pip Quickwit is trapped in a cage and cannot be freed until Chimeron is slain. They say, leaping leper gnomes, you're a sight for sore eyes. I was worried the giant magma worm out front would deter visitors. Now that you're here, you can give me a hand. It wasn't strictly voluntary, but I discovered something truly incredible. The beast seemed to be able to consume almost anything with no ill effects. Exactly. I ran some tests on the residual digestive fluid coating my suit and Pip trails off. Say, you haven't seen my skinning knife anywhere, have you? I seem to have misplaced it. And I thought this seemed familiar, and then I realized this is a reference to the gnome in Upper Blackrock Spire that got swallowed by the beast. But yeah, overall, I think Chimeron gets a bad rap here. And they're named after a chimera, which is pretty cool, so that's why Chimeron is number 5. 4. Number 4 are the plant hydras, and I picked out a few specifically. There's the light bloom hydras in the Eversong Woods, there's Venom Shade in the Shadowmoon Valley in Draenor, and there's Biolante in Gorgrond. And the reason I kind of just clumped them all together is because they are all part of the Mandragora. And it says here that Mandragoras, also called plant hydras, are hydras mimicking Florophon found in the worlds of Azeroth, Draenor, as well as the Shadowlands realm of Ardenweld. I also know there's mandrakes, so I think Mandragora is kind of like a play on mandrakes or something. I don't know specifics, but that would make sense. But I actually really like these. I think it's a cool type of creature where they've taken all these flowers and plants and blended it together with hydras. And so obviously they use that same hydra skeleton where it's walking around moving like all the other hydras, but they got like drool coming out, and they got like Venus flytrap style heads, and then all the different plants and roots and everything. Just, I don't know. I actually really like the creativity of these guys. And so I kind of just went through and picked out a few in various locations, but there's actually a lot in the game. So either way, that's why the Mandragora are number 4. 3. Number 3 is Megara, and Megara is the 5th boss encounter in the Throne of Thunder. And I thought this was cool because in a patch 5.2 raid preview for the Throne of Thunder, Blizzard talked about the encounter design where they said the inspiration for this boss fight was the Lernaean Hydra that Hercules battled in Greek mythology, a beast with many heads that regrew 2 heads in place of each one that was severed. That foundation, combined with the concept of 3 distinct types of heads, resulted in the beast that now awaits players beneath the Thunder King's lair in patch 5.2. And honestly, I did this fight more solo than I ever did back in the day in an actual raid, but it is a really annoying fight to solo, primarily because it just takes a long time. It's not even that hard, it takes forever. But I was reading the adventure guide, and it actually has some pretty cool lore behind it. It says, long ago, a young cloud serpent was twisted into a multi-headed hydra and left to languish beneath Lei Shen's throne. Now that twisted creature lurks deep in the forgotten depths, awaiting the moment it may finally inflict its terrible agony upon others. Which honestly, that makes me feel bad for it, because it's just living in agony and it just wants to like spread its agony because it feels so bad. So that kind of sucks, but either way, that's why Megara is number 3. 2. Number 2 is Vorsha the Lasher, and Vorsha the Lasher is a hydra found in Ashenvale along the Zoram Strand. And this is one that I remember from all the way back in classic World of Warcraft, although I think they did update it a little bit, but when you talk to Muglash, he says, Vorsha the Lasher, the fiendish hydra that roams the seas. She has attacked our outpost, each time unprovoked, laying waste to anything that falls in her path. But I am ready. I have prepared to best the hydra and end these attacks on Zaramgar. The Naga honored the wicked nature of this beast with a brazier that remains lit on an island just off the coast. I believe that if we put it out, Vorsha will appear in anger. And so then this kind of becomes an escort quest where you slowly follow Muglash out to the island. And I mean slowly, it takes a while, but once you get there, you go through the whole process, you put out the little fire and the thing, and then before you know it, Vorsha the Lasher walks up onto land and is like, who the hell put out my fire? And so you help Muglash defeat Vorsha the Lasher, and then he's just like, you have my deepest gratitude. Thank you. And that's that, but it's a quest that I always remember and that I always will remember, and so that's why Vorsha the Lasher is number 1. And number 1 is Gazrila, and I think Gazrila is the most notable Hydra in World of Warcraft. I always remember Gazrila. I remember getting the mallet and hitting the gong to summon Gazrila back in Classic WoW. In fact, I forgot there was that whole process where you had to go to the hinterlands and get the mallet and then bring it up to Jintha Allure, which I always thought was really cool, to be honest. It says here in the adventure guide that legend has it that Gazrila was an adored pet of the old gods, or even a demigod in her own right. Whatever the truth is, the Sand Fury trolls have worshipped this monstrous Hydra for thousands of years. The trolls will only rouse Gazrila when they have plentiful sacrifices to sate the ravenous creature's appetite. It also says here that while Gazrila being worshipped by trolls should mean she should be considered a Loa, she is not listed on the Tablet of Theka with the other Loa of the Sand Fury tribe, those being Kimball, Moizala, and Shadra. And so yeah, Gazrila is one of the oldest Hydras in World of Warcraft, one of the most well-known Hydras in World of Warcraft, and has some pretty cool lore, so that's why Gazrila is number 1. Hey everybody, thanks for watching this episode of Pointless Top 10. If you want more Top 10s, you go watch Knowles from last week, or you go watch Weird Things Underwater if you missed that one. Also, like the video and comment down below your favorite Hydra in World of Warcraft. Okay? Okay. See ya.